The PSVR 2 is the most requested piece of kit that I've had for a while, so I got one for testing, courtesy of my friend who will be doing some fundraising for Macmillan and himself on the 10th of June at Forest Motorsports, if you guys want to come. This headset has been basically all the rage since it was launched, and I am told that it will take Gran Turismo 7 to another level. However, I will be a bit of a spoiled sport. There are indeed excellent things about this headset, in some ways, or in a lot of ways, better than everything that I've tried on the PC. But you know what, it is still a VR headset and it comes with the same pitfalls. What is interesting and absolutely mind-boggling about this headset is the price. It's £529. It's of course more expensive than the console. However, look at this way. It basically has features close to the Valve Index, which is about, what, £800 or something. But the price of this is closer to the Meta Quest 2. And that price comes with the controllers inside the box. And we're talking about also a headset that has OLED screens, 2000 by 2000 resolution. I mean, this OLED screens, not even the most expensive competition, which will be the Vive Pro 2s, will have. So this is actually pretty nice. Since this video is basically exclusive with this headset and Gran Turismo, I'm not going to talk about the controllers. I'm going to talk about the driving experience with the VR headset, like I'm going to talk about the experience with today's sponsor, Exter. Sim racing content creation makes for a lot of cables, therefore I'm always trying to slim down the amount of cable spaghetti. You just need to look at this image. I also try to reduce the amount of clutter I have in my wallet. Nowadays, I mostly use bank cards, and that's why Exter has such fascinating wallets for someone like me. You can store up to 12 cards. The cards will be safe with an RFID blocker, so that means you don't need to get worried about someone trying to steal your contactless information. You can access the cards by using this awesome trigger mechanism, and all of this comes in a real small form factor. The aluminum one is really slim, but if you're looking for a more classic style, there's even this leather option. And if you feel like myself keeping your losing your wallet or your phone, you can find it using the tracker cards. Once using an Exter wallet, it's really hard to go back to your normal one. By using the code RANDOM or the affiliate link below, you can have up to 35% discount for the Father's Day sale. Physically, I'm impressed of how light is this headset. 560 grams to be exact. It's hollow inside, and at first glance that might make it look cheap, but of course, being so light on a headset, on a VR headset you're going to wear for so long, that means it comes at a huge advantage. You know, there's more air inside, it means less weight, so that's pretty cool. The design of the headset has some clever ideas as well. There are a couple of buttons to adjust the headset very, very fast. You have this one at the front that will unlock the tilting mechanism for the screen, and then at the back you have this one over here that is for the mount. Very, very adjustable, and then you can also use it to tighten at the back of your head. So in terms of adjustment, this is quite simple. You just basically press this button, press the back button as well, just put it back in, tighten it up. That's it, and it gets really, really close to your eyes. It's really nice. Still at the front you have the dial for the eye relief, and below the on button and the options button, and this is the microphone. If you squint and you look really close, the details for all of the silicone, basically it's the PlayStation button. And at the back there are a couple of nice features. First of all, the tether is really long. This is 4.5 meters, so that is very, very useful if you want to use room scale for some of the VR games. And then over here, something that I find really fascinating, really interesting, this is a 3.5mm jack. The headset comes with these in-ear pieces, but you know, considering the wearable aspect and personal aspect of a VR headset, and considering the person that lent me for this for a couple of days or for a couple of weeks is immunocompromised, I'm not going to run any risks because, you know, there's really no point. And because it does have the 3.5mm jack, it means you can use your own headset, and I've been using my headset with no problem whatsoever, and it's super comfortable. A lot of the experience with VR headsets are based on the software. So you either have to change the render mode to, you know, use your game with VR, or you have to change the performance mode. It changed like the super resolution of it. But in the case of the PlayStation VR, well, It's as easy as putting it on. Gran Turismo 7 automatically does the VR rendering. You do not need to do anything. You just put the headset on and this goes automatically into VR. There's no menus to go to. And because it knows it's on VR, we have a VR showroom that we can check out. Sadly, in my opinion, this is not the best implementation of a showroom, so use the controller to go around. Unfortunately, the first-person aspect of this is a bit sloppy, so on your right thumb it just turns on 45 degrees. You really don't have, you know, that control that could be on a first-person shooter, but you know, you can still rotate and check out all of the details. The cars are extremely well detailed. Look at the reflections, look at the colors. It's fantastic. These guys are really car nerds. So you can go on the inside of the car and the car is superbly well detailed. Surfaces are perfect, and to the point where I'm thinking I'm inside the car. The resolution is just that good. It's really immersive. Whenever I check headsets, a VR headset, the first thing I try to notice, or first thing I notice most of the times, is the screen door effect. So essentially the screen door effect is the distance between the pixels, and because we have a couple of monitors attached to our eyes, and that's basically essentially what a VR headset is monitors in your eyes, you tend to notice the pixels a little more because, you know, the monitors are so very close to your eyeballs. And in this case, while it's still not, you know, it's gonna be always very difficult to be monitor sharp, it's really not bad. You really do not notice the screen door effect that much. There's a little bit here and there, but it's really something that after just a little bit, you really forget about it. It's not as sharp as a monitor, but it is definitely sharp enough to check out the details. Looking at, for example, the text, it's so easy to read, far easier than a lot that I've tried, a lot of VR headsets that I've tried. At far away, at close up, so in terms of resolution, this is absolutely fantastic. Another thing that is also very noticeable, and it's one of the first things you're always going to notice about the VR headset, is how comfortable this thing is. So it's only 560 grams on top of your head, but they are very well distributed. Of course, most of the weight is at the front. However, I think they put a little bit of weight at the back to try to balance the headset a bit. That allows you to not have, in longer sessions, your neck sore, I guess. It's very well balanced and it's super comfortable. And another thing that is very good is the light isolation because of the silicone rubbers or silicone bands around your eyes. I have a huge light over there to show my pretty face in the best light possible. And I can tell you that it's really not visible any light bleed inside the headset. I'm completely isolated. My eyes are completely isolated from the outside, which is absolutely fantastic. And it's not something that I've experienced in many headsets, if not any at all. The CV1, you know, if you had this, it would be fantastic, but you always had light bleed. The HTC Vive Pro 2, exactly the same thing. It does not isolate the light as well as this VR headset does. So in terms of comfort, in terms of visibility for your eyes, this thing is absolutely top-notch. Now for the practical aspects of driving VR in Gran Turismo 7, you have the FOV. So the FOV is absolutely perfect, and you also have a wide field of view, lateral field of view. It's not very narrow, but you really feel inside of the car. This is basically as one-to-one as it's ever going to be. I've been in Nordschleife before, and this feels like it's the correct size. And then there's the other thing, which basically is the advantage of driving with VR, which is essentially the depth perception. And the depth perception here is absolutely fantastic. You can measure the distances correctly. Everything is, you know, correctly rendered. I'm looking at the distance. It feels like I'm looking at the distance. I'm looking close up over here at the symbol of Alfa Romeo. It feels like exactly the same thing, like it would be with my eyes. It's very hard to do that with some of the VR headsets, and everything is like tack sharp. that also is stack sharp because of a technique that I've talked before called the foveated rendering or foveated rendering. Essentially, what this will do is render, just like your eyes, the areas where you're looking sharper. So I'm looking over here at the curbing, it should be sharper, and the game doesn't really need to be as sharp at the other areas where you're not looking at, because it does have eye tracking. So I'm looking at the apex over there, it should render the apex at a higher resolution, and the other areas outside of the apex at a lower resolution. I'm not sure if you're checking it out on the recording, because the recording is going to be 1080p, but it will be visible when you record it at higher resolutions. But for you do not see that. So technically, this headset is absolutely flawless. Shutoko, I think it's the best place to talk about the immersion, because you are dropped in and everything is so close to you. That is generally enough to tell you if this VR reproduction is realistically enough to, you know, trick your brain. I think it is, because of the FOV that I talked about. It's really, really good. Your depth perception is fantastic, but also because of the update rate of the monitors. So I think this runs at 120 Hz. Of course, there are some limitations on the headset. It's not as sharp as it'll be on the monitor, but it really doesn't matter that much because your eyes, you know, get used to that. The colors are not as vibrant, even though there are OLEDs. I wish it were a little bit more vibrant, but they look fantastic nonetheless. The reflections are pretty good, even though they are not 120 Hz, of course. Reflections tend to be very expensive on your GPU. When you put all of that, especially here at Shutoko, it really makes your immersion. It looks so nice. Everything seems like, wow, this is absolutely fantastic. So I'm looking at this 240Z or 280Z. You know, the model is so crazy. It just makes you feel like you are there. I mean, look at this model. You can't really expect much more of it. This is one thing that I think Gran Turismo does better than almost everything else, because they spend so much time developing the models inside and out, and because they have such a good lighting system. This essentially, for a VR experience on a driving simulator, if you want to call it a simulator or not, but for driving, I don't think there are any experiences, especially for the price, that beat this. As you can probably see from my video, I have very high opinions about the PSVR 2. It's actually pretty nice, but this is the part where I'm going to be the spoil sport, and I'm talking about the experience of VR headsets doing in sim racing, which I had for years, and this isn't any different. There will be proponents and critics about the VR headsets for sim racing. The proponents will talk about the flawless FOV and depth perception and the unparalleled immersion, and this is basically the closest thing you get to getting into a real racing car and driving around a track. All of it, it's true. However, this headset, like any other headset, will have exactly the same type of pitfalls. That means after a while you're gonna get bored of getting this in your head and attaching into it, and you're gonna get a sweaty face and your eyes will get tired very, very easily and all of that. And after a while, the novelty factor is going to wear out. After the novelty factor is going to wear out, at a certain point, you're going to get tired of using it. I've happened to have that, even though I used the Oculus CV1 almost exclusively for 2 years. After a while, I couldn't just do it anymore because it's just an absolute pain to deal with all of that. You get sweaty. You get also what I call the sweaty VR arms. And no matter what I did, I essentially came back to monitor, because even though it is a far inferior experience in terms of sensorial experience, depth, field experience, and all of that, in terms of practicality, it's far superior, and I am not alone in this. And I'll tell you straight away, this is probably the best headset I've used for sim racing, because the tracking is so good, because the screen is so good and you feel really inside of it. But after a few hours, it's basically the same old as the Oculus CV1. You do get bored of using it. Let's put Grand Prix callsign away. It was necessary, but not right now. I think that there aren't many better implementations of VR in the market as of this moment. For the price, you know, for the feature set and for the experience it gives you in VR, I'm tempted to say I think this is the best headset I've tried for sim racing. Yeah, and I know that it's only on PlayStation and this won't be compatible with the PC, but the experience is that good. Despite my criticisms, some are, you know, related to the headset, others are related to what is VR. I think that Polyphony and Sony made a winner here, and for the price, you know, this thing is absolutely unbeatable. I would like to thank my friend Hugo for letting me test the PlayStation VR 2, and also all the members of the channel for making this channel a possibility. And maintaining on the topic of Gran Turismo 7, the review will be somewhere over here. Check it out, I think you're gonna like it.